Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the PILS show for the first time in... Oh my god, I just had this pulled up.
You forgot.
That's awkward. 261 days. March 1st, 2023 was the last time we did a podcast of the PILS show. And we are back. We'll get into it a little more, but we're back. That's all I'm saying. Are we back?
We're back. We're back.
Yes, we are. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for having you with us. That didn't make sense. We're married. We're married. Maddie, hold up your hand to the camera for our YouTube viewers. We got that bling bling, okay? We got that bling bling. For our listeners, sorry you can't see it. That's a good segment into this. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcast, please hit that follow button, hit that like button, give us a 5-star review, share it with your friend, post it on your Instagram story. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe, hit that like, comment about how your dog's poops are feeling this week. Ours is pretty solid. If you have a dog, you relate. There's no better feeling than when your dog is pooping solid. Do you agree with that?
It's true.
We're in a crazy mood right now. We're just going for it. So, as I mentioned, first show in since March, so it's been like over half a year. A lot's changed since then. If you hear any gnawing in the background, that's our dog Bogey, who is almost 1. His first birthday will be a couple days after Thanksgiving. Crazy that we've had this little man. He has my entire heart. When he dies, my life is over. So that's really depressing. And when you love a dog so much, you can't help but think about that. And you're like, how am I ever going to live without this dude? As he gnaws his bone right by my foot and gets my shoe all wet and I don't even care. It's crazy how much having a dog makes you care less about possessions. Like, he got one of my shoes one time and just like ripped it in half. And I was like, you know what? I didn't really like those anyway. And I just let him have the other one too. But anyway, so getting right into it here, we have my wife on the podcast. Thanks for joining, Maddie. I'll give the mic to you in a second. But yeah, obviously the last time we did a podcast was in 2022, early in 2022, and we had been engaged for a few months, and we hadn't even started planning the wedding yet. We didn't know when exactly we were getting married. We didn't know where. We didn't really know any details, and a lot's changed since then. So obviously now we're married. It's been amazing. Actually, we're coming up on a month. Today's the 17th when we're recording. It's going to be the 19th, October 19th when we got married. Going to be a month, so happy 1-month anniversary to us. But anyway, I figured to start it out, like I usually do when I have an episode of this, we'll kind of do a quick life update. Obviously, the big thing being we got married. But I think like in terms of like job stuff, etc., we'll kind of just do a quick update as well. So I'm going to give the mic over to Maddie and just take it away, wife.
Hello. Yeah. Not much has changed for my job other than
Sorry.
Yeah, not much has changed for my job. I still work for Frito-Lay. Same position and everything. However, I think the last time we did our podcast was when we were in Milwaukee. Is that right?
That's correct.
So I would have been working in Milwaukee, but now I work out of the Chicagoland area, so that was nice. Was able to transfer back home after we got engaged, so super thankful for that. And yeah, everything's been going good.
Love to hear it. Yeah, that is actually crazy that we lived back then, because that's already. I mean, you lived there. I unofficially lived there, and then we moved into Arlington Heights. Because I was still working in the city, and that was like a good middle location because her office was actually there. And I got to do it. And I was just going to say, this is the second time we're recording this podcast. We tried to record this the other day, and then as I was editing it, my computer just like was having meltdowns, and it first told me that like it just wasn't exporting. When I edited all the video, I put the audio together, I did everything. And then also, sorry, this is like a random cutoff, but I just wanted to give the people a true view of what's going on here. So basically, there was just a bunch of technical issues. I had to delete things. I accidentally deleted all my old voice memos, so that sucks. A lot of memories there, rip in peace. But yeah, here we are. So this is round 2. Hopefully this time works out. If you guys are seeing this, it worked out, so that's good. But yeah, last time we recorded, we lived in Milwaukee. We recorded like on my iPad or something. I didn't even have a mic. And since then, yeah, it's crazy. Like we were engaged, we moved out, we got a dog, we got married, and here we are. But yeah. So I think in this episode today, obviously a lot of people are probably tuning in because we got married and you want to hear about that. And we'll talk about, the wedding. We'll talk about the honeymoon. We'll talk about some things we learned along the way. I know a couple of our friends were like, thanks for being the guinea pigs, because now we actually know what the fuck we're going to do when we get married. Because I feel like we know a lot of people in our lives that are probably right on the verge of getting married, potentially. You know who you are. Probably a lot of people. But it's kind of going to be, we're actually already going to our first wedding as a married couple on New Year's Eve. Shout out Matt Cozy. But yeah, I think we'll just kind of get into the wedding. So do you want to start just talking about the wedding? Like recap, or no, you don't? You gave me a very concerned look there. Okay, I could start. Yeah, overall, I mean, it was awesome. Everyone's been asking like, how's married life? We're like, it's really not that different, but it's just like kind of a high. At least I feel that way. It was literally incredible. Like, it really couldn't have gone any better. Except for Maddie getting some slight altitude sickness there at the end. That was like the only thing that slightly even went wrong, but even that like was fine.
Yeah, I'd like to give a disclaimer to all the wedding guests that were there, because I'd like to make it publicly known that I was not the drunk bride. It did look like it, but I was experiencing altitude sickness, felt super nauseous, or not nauseous, dizzy. The staff had to give me an oxygen tank, couldn't breathe. Yeah, so that's what was going on. It was only for the last like 30 minutes or so of the reception. So overall, it was still like a perfect night. But yeah, I just had to throw that out there.
That made it sound so dramatic. You were like, couldn't breathe, had to get oxygen. I mean, I'm glad you're all right. But we were taking care of you. But overall, great. Like, the weather was great. I honestly probably could have done with it a little colder, but for the majority of the guests there, the weather was great. I mean, I liked it too. Like, it was good. It was like 60s, which was cool. But it's crazy because we all got there and dressed for like 40s, and it was like 60s, upper 60s even. But yeah, it was great. Great time. It's funny, the next week in Colorado where we had our wedding, they were having weddings in the snow. So we kind of potentially got lucky in that way. Like, I'm sure that would have been cool too, but the weather was great. Everyone had a great time. People kept coming up to us throughout the whole time being like, this is the best wedding I've ever been to. One of my parents said, one of their friends came up and was like crying and said like, this is the best wedding I've ever been to. And my dad thought it was funny because her son just got married. But yeah, it was incredible. I think that was huge for us too. Like, the fact that like other people had such a good time means so much to us, especially since that was already our favorite place, like Estes Park. Like, we had that camping trip there right when we graduated. It was our first solo trip together ever. And like, that's ultimately, lo and behold, how we picked there to get married. And now the fact that like all our friends and family like shared that with us and shared that special memory with us is awesome. And I just love that. But I think it went incredibly well. I think we were not bride and groomzilla at all. We had certain things that we wanted to make sure got done right, certain things that we didn't give a shit about. And the vendors were incredible. We actually just got an amazingly thoughtful and sweet note from like the wedding coordinator at the venue that like almost made me cry. And yeah, the photographers, videographers are great. You guys have seen some of the photos on Instagram and stuff. We're still waiting to get the big batch back, which we can't wait for. But yeah, overall, I had an incredible time. Love you. I'm glad it's kind of sad that it's over because you spend so long like waiting for it and like the build up for it, and now it like happened. But yeah, I had an incredible time. I'll pass it over to you. What did you think about it? Did you like it all right? Was it all right?
It was great. I'll add, like, for if anyone's listening that like maybe wasn't there and you're more curious about like what's Estes Park like and stuff. But it's like it's like an hour outside of Denver, and it's a touristy town, but it's like such a small town that like all the locals, like, it's one of those like everybody knows everybody towns. So like the guy that was like giving us a tour of the Rocky Mountains, like, he dropped us off at this brewery afterwards and was like, yeah, I helped build this place. And like we went to like pick out an aspen tree to plant, and like the florist person was like, oh yeah, like I know all your vendors at your venue and stuff. And it's like just one of those like everybody knows everybody towns. So it's cute, it's little, there's like all these little shops, and it's funny because like throughout the week we were there, like obviously our friends and family were there too. And if Connor and I were just like walking down the street to go to lunch, like there were multiple times where we just like walked past people that were there for us, like our friends and family, which just like was so fun. And I was talking to Connor about this. One of the cool things about weddings is that it's probably the only time in your entire life that you'll have all of your friends and family in the same place at the same time. So for us, that was even cooler that we got to do that in Estes Park, which was already one of our favorite places. And then getting to share that with like literally almost, almost everybody that's like special to us in our life was just like so amazing. And I wish we could do it again, but you only get married once. Yeah. At least that's how it goes. That's how it's supposed to go. But yeah, it was great. And then we ended up the last day getting to spend an extra day in Colorado because we went to our honeymoon right after in Cabo. However, the day we were supposed to fly in, there was a hurricane occurring. So our flights got delayed just by one day, but it turned out to be, we certainly made lemonade out of lemons because there was an Illini game on. So naturally we squatted up with all the Illini that were still in town and some family that was still there and got to watch the game with them. And it was fun. It was a very special week for sure.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Illini did lose that game. It was the homecoming game. It was versus Wisconsin. Not too broken up about it. I am. Yeah, but it was fun. It was a great time. Yeah, it was funny. I got a call. Well, not kind of funny. I mean, I got a call from our travel agent that was like helping organize the honeymoon, and I was like, and she was like, oh hey, like I got a call on Friday night. We're supposed to leave Saturday morning. She's like, yeah, so the airport is closed, and I was like, say what?
The Cabo airport.
Right. I don't know why you keep. Why
the Denver airport could have been.
Well, right. So yeah, I was getting to that, but the Cabo airport was closed because I was like, oh, and she was like, yeah, there's a hurricane. I was like, oh, and then. And I was like, all right. So I went back and I'm like, yo, Maddie, the airport's closed. And you're like, what? And then my mom's like, what? And then everyone's like, what? What? Oh my God. Oh my God. And I'm like, it's going to be fine. Let's chill out for a second. We're going to get there. We don't want to be there if there's a hurricane. What?
I said I was chill.
No, I know. Yeah. But I'm just saying in general, I was like, we're good. But yeah, we ended up just flying out the next day. We really didn't feel like we lost a day because, again, we were still in Colorado and like, we got the opportunity to, again, hang out with everyone that's still there for the game. And, like, we had dinner with Jeremiah, Megan, and Jeremiah's parents. Shout out Beth Ann and Charles and Jonah and Megan and Jeremiah. What? But she's always judging me on this podcast. It's fine. And in life. But that's her humor. That's her comedy. But yeah.
I always say I wouldn't be funny if you didn't exist.
I'm happy to be your subject of comedy. But yeah, it was fun. It was an awesome time. Shout out everyone that was there. We had like pretty much 90 people there, of our closest friends and family. It was funny, like talking to people, at work and whatever. Like you talk about the wedding a lot, and they're like, "Oh, how many people are coming?" And I was like, "Oh, about 90." And they're like, "Wow, that's a lot of people for a destination. You got all those people to come out." I'm like, "Hey, like people must like us." So it was really fun. Special shout out to everyone that was there. And yeah, it was just overall an awesome time. Anything else to say about that? Oh, I was thinking I was writing down some things. We could like touch on like some things that potentially we learned / like best practices, because I don't know. I just, when you're about to get married, you like get on Wedding Talk and you're like, oh, these are things that I'm doing for my wedding and these things are not doing. And in general, like, again, the way we kind of took approach to it is like we had certain things that we wanted to like get right. So for example, like we really wanted to have find like a really special venue. And we really wanted to, like obviously like her dress and like picking what people wear was like good. But a lot of stuff we were like, they're like, yeah, so like what kind of napkins do you want? We were like, we don't give a fuck. You guys can pick whatever you want. This is a swearing podcast, pro swearing, when necessary. But yeah, I just think in general, like obviously some people are going to be more bridezilla and groomzilla. We weren't really at all. But yeah, I think like we did a good job planning it and everything. Like our moms helped out. We did some stuff. We all kind of tag team. It's crazy. Like planning a wedding is so much work. Even the four of us working collaboratively, like on our own shit, it's a lot. Like it's a lot. It's like I can't imagine anyone doing it like just themselves. Which like a lot, and I'll pass it off to Maddie because she has something to say about this. But like, I feel like when I talk to people at work, they'd be like, "Oh, so like, are you doing anything for the wedding?" And I'm like, "What? Yes. Like, what are you talking about? And it just got me to think, like, is it really so much of the norm that guys just don't do anything for the wedding? Because one, like, I can understand if the girl wants to do everything, like, sure, but if you're just gonna like not do it, like, I don't know, is that just like a classic guy? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I found that interesting too, because like from the start, I feel like we were very like both involved in the like all the decision making of it, and same with me. Like a lot of people would be like, "Oh, is Connor even helping, or like are you just planning everything?" And I was like, "No, he's probably doing more than me." Honestly, just because of like I've just had a really busy year, and he was able to like help out a lot with like wedding stuff. So shout out for like doing a lot for it, and on our moms too. Like they really picked up a lot of the heavy lifting for the wedding. But like let's just normalize the groom doing things for the wedding. Like it's not. And people almost frame weddings as like it's all about the bride, and maybe traditionally that's how it was, but like really if it like on paper it's like our wedding day, like it's me and him getting married, so like we should both equally care about the day and like all of those things. So yeah, let's just all be involved. So if you're a man and you plan to get married to a woman, then if she wants to plan the whole thing and you truly don't care, then like go off. That's what works for you. Then you're both happy. But like if it's an overwhelming experience, which it is a lot of work to plan a wedding, make sure that you're involved because you should be. Thank you.
I just want to go on the record and say we are a pro marry anyone you want podcast. You said marry a woman, but you can marry a man. You can marry. No, I know. I guarantee they'd both be involved. No, I know. I just wanted that on the record. In 2023, you just got to get that on the record. We are a pro love is love podcast. The Connor PILS show. Follow the Instagram, by the way. Got the Connor PILS show Instagram. Just the Connor PILS with show at the end. Bogey's hanging out for the pod. Bogey, anything to say, bud? All right, good talk. For the audio, sorry, you probably just had a little break there. But yeah, I think that kind of puts a button on the wedding. Getting into the honeymoon. Oh, actually, we were just gonna. We were gonna keep talking about like advice and like things we learned. Do you have anything else? I feel like in general. Well, one, let me give you some advice. Don't think that you have to start planning the wedding the minute you get engaged. Because I think, like, you can do it however you want, but, like, we got engaged in December of 2021 on my birthday. It's coming up on 2 years since that. It's about to be my birthday, 25. I'm getting old. Shit. But, yeah, like, we were engaged in December. We wanted to, like, get that, through the holidays, everything. Just enjoy your engagement. Like, if you want to get married right away, like, by all means. But I feel like we had like almost 2 years from the time we got engaged to the time we got married, and it still almost didn't feel like enough. Like it's like, don't rush it, because one, you're never going to have that. You're only going to have one wedding. You're also only going to have one lead up to the wedding. So like I just feel like we really just tried to enjoy it and like enjoy our engagement, enjoy being fiancés. And now I'm like trying to get used to not saying fiancé anymore. I feel like I'm getting pretty used to saying wife. It has a nice ring to it. But yeah, it was a good time. I'd say that'd be my biggest piece of advice. And then other than that, just like don't stress yourself out so much with like the little details, because at the end of the day, shout out Mark, my dad, he loved to say this. It was like, even if something little goes wrong, even if the cake comes out a little bit different, like you're going to have a great time. It's going to be perfect. It's going to be beautiful. The people that are there make all the difference. You two make all the difference. Like you picked the venue, everyone's there, that's just what I'm going to say about that. So that kind of goes along too with like we weren't bride and groomzilla. But did you have something to say? You looked like you wanted to say something.
I did think of two things of advice, and they're kind of just silly. One is, I saw a TikTok before we got married that was like, it was like of another couple getting married, and they were cutting the cake, and the girl, it was like one of those TikToks. She was like, ladies, like make sure that you teach him how to do the cake cutting before the wedding or something, because like they were doing it and he couldn't figure it out. And I was like, I feel like it's obvious. Like you cut the cake and then you like do like you cross arms and you like feed each other the bite of cake, like duh. But then we get to the cake cutting part and like you just did not know. And I just thought it was so funny because I like intentionally was like, oh no, I just feel like it's common knowledge that you just like do that. But apparently that's a thing that girls know. So
let's go back to that real quick. Oh yeah, like you just like cross arms and feed each other the cake. Duh. Excuse me. How would you know that? How you don't learn that in school? I've only been to one wedding in my like semi-teen adult life. How the fuck am I supposed to know that? I just feel like that's a very normal thing to not know. We figured it out. It's not like some elaborate procedure, but I just didn't really know about all that. Yeah, I mean, all right.
Yeah, I just feel like that's why I'm just making a point. Like, it's the thing that the girlies know. Like, make sure that you don't assume that your guy knows how to do it. But anyways, the second thing that I will say, and LOL, the people watching can see Bogey and my laughing Connor holding the mic for me. But the music that you play. So shout out to Connor because he curated our whole wedding playlist and he put a lot of time and energy into it. So shout out, and we got multiple compliments on how good the music was. So gotta give Connor credit where credit's due. But I will also say, as part of my advice, I do think that part of the reason why it was so great is because we did not include the cha-cha slide. And what's that other one?
Dancing Queen.
I'm gonna get him.
No, the cha-cha slide and the Cupid shuffle. Oh my gosh, you guys. Can we just agree that they don't need to be on the wedding playlists anymore? Like, I just feel like that wasn't necessary. So what we did is we're moving on to, we entered with a High School Musical song. Originally, I wanted to get the Hoedown Throwdown up in there, but, so let's transition over to the Disney Channel bops as a generation, and then I think we'll be good to go.
Yeah, I mean, do what you want. But yeah, I do appreciate the props on the playlist. I did spend a good amount of time curating that. And I did get compliments on it. They were like, dude, I feel like there was never a down moment. Like, it was great. The DJ was also great at, like, knowing when to bring the vibes in and stuff. But, yeah, I mean, we had country in there. We had Hannah Montana. We had Taylor Swift, of course. We did. Shout out T Swift, Travis Kelce. But, yeah, I mean, overall, it was great. It was awesome. So those are some good pieces of advice. I think it's funny, like, we're probably going to go to a shit ton of weddings in the next, like, 5 years. Like, I feel like now is when it starts. Like, we were the first ones, and now it's going to be, like, everyone. Because, like, pretty much everyone in both of our wedding parties, I had 9 groomsmen. She had 8 bridesmaids, 7 that were there. We love you, Elena. Unfortunately, Elena wasn't able to make it. But everyone pretty much is in a relationship. Like, think about how many people are in relationships, like, serious relationships, like, long-term. So, we're pumped. I mean, we're going to our first one New Year's Eve. So that's going to be fun. Getting into the honeymoon a little bit, we went to Cabo, Mexico. Like she said, we dodged a hurricane successfully. We got there the first day, and we were a little bit like, oh, you could definitely tell there's a hurricane here. What's going to happen? And then the next day, it was perfectly fine again. So it was awesome. It was great. We got the all-you-can-eat, all-you-can-drink package, which is the first time I've ever done that in my life. And it cracks Maddie up how excited I am about it. But I completely balled out. And it was coming off of, like, I lost, like, 25 pounds for this wedding from the beginning of the year. Thank you. Appreciate it. We still got work to do, but shedding some weight. So I just completely balled out. I was having like 4 or 5 meals a day, room service, pina. I started calling Maddie Pina. Pina para pina because she was ordering so many pinas. And also, at the end of meals, they just ask you if you want tequila. And we were like, let's fucking do it.
Didn't the B-Reel go off the last time we recorded this?
No way. Is it actually the B-Reel? Ferd? Fin, furred, doof, joof, upper decky gummies, upper decky lip cushions, Ferda. Be real vibes, Ferda. Audio listeners, sorry, give me 1 sec. I'm just going to do this live on the Connor PILS show. Ferd. Okay, cool. But yeah, we were talking about that. The all-you-can-eat package was an absolute vibe. It was amazing. The resort was great. The hurricane, like, literally destroyed the beach, so we didn't get to go on the beach. But we did snorkel. We went on a dinner cruise. We went ATVing, horseback riding. We were going up almost 70 miles per hour on these ATVs. Insane. Sorry, Mark. We did it safely. It It was insane. It was awesome. Like those 2 weeks, like the week in Colorado, mountain vibes, wedding with our friends and family, and then the week by ourselves, beach vibes, just like chilling. One of my favorite nights was the last night. We just like ate a bunch of pizza and got hammered on beach chairs, and I accidentally threw your flip-flop over the railing. I may have been a little intoxicated. But you didn't really like those flip-flops anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel more bad for you versus the flip-flop because, like,
Here we go.
I know it's, like, hard to deal with when you're just not, like you just can't throw. Like, your aim was a little off. So I feel bad. Like, I'm sorry that you're going through that.
There was wind. All right? Let's chill out. But anyway, yeah. The honeymoon was great. It was awesome. 2, to just have a week to celebrate. Like, I feel like I'm still reliving the wedding a little bit. Like, every time I go to bed, I'm, like, thinking about the wedding. But it was awesome. Just, like, it was amazing. It was great. 2 weeks off of work, too, was so clutch. Like, just having 2 weeks to not worry about anything and, like, log off. And I didn't answer a single email. I pretty much deleted the apps. I turned off my notifications. Didn't even look at them. And my team was pretty respectful, too, about, like, not reaching out to me. And I feel like you said the same thing. But yeah, I think that was what. No. Yeah, a little ASMR, Ferda. Sorry, I'm a little hungry. I just tried to eat the mic. Hungry hippo. Yeah. So, okay, we pretty much did that. We're gonna get into a new segment now, presented by McDonald's.
What?
Yeah, dude, I didn't tell you. Just kidding. We're not sponsored by McDonald's. If you want to sponsor us, I consume more of your unsweetened iced tea, particularly in the large format, than anyone else on planet Earth. Do you think so? I mean, there's no way anyone drinks more.
Probably not.
There's no way. So if you want to, the offer's on the table. Counter Pill Show is very established. We'd give you plugs, free plugs all the time. We're going to get into a new segment presented by LaCroix that's basically called Hot Takes of the Week. So anytime I have a guest, what?
I don't think you can say it's I don't know if you're like allowed to say it's presented by a company.
Presented by Clorox, new segment called Hot Takes. It's not an original idea. It's just a take that is steamy because not a lot of people agree with it, or it's controversial. It's provocative. It gets the people going. So every time we have a guest on the pod, we're going to ask him what's one of their biggest hot takes, one of their hottest takes, if you will. So we'll give it to Maddie to start. It can be related to weddings or just in general if you got a hot take brewing.
Sure. I feel like I have one that brewed recently due to a recent experience I had at work. And I honestly don't know how the masses would feel about this opinion. Like, it might not be that unpopular of an opinion, but it's definitely controversial. And that is that you should not shame people for getting a dog from a breeder. And and we've talked about this. Connor and I have talked about this before, but I feel very strongly about it that you should not, and specifically that you should not shame people for it. Here's my story behind it. So we have Bogey, obviously. Bogey's a golden retriever. We got him from a breeder. We got him from the same breeder that my parents have 2 dogs from, who was referred to us by someone that my dad knew, who they have 2 dogs from. Like, we're referred to this breeder. And like, you do your research on breeders. Like, you make sure that they're ethical, that they're like registered with AKC, that they're doing it for the right reasons, all these types of things. Like, you see the environment that they're keeping the litters in, and you make sure that they're ethical. So Bogey's from a breeder. Long story to say that. And so I was at work the other day just talking to somebody about Bogey and just talking about how he asked where we got him, and I was like, yeah, a breeder. And then someone else that wasn't even in the conversation just like looks at me and is like, you know, there's a lot of dogs in shelters that you could have adopted too. And she says it in this like demeaning way. as if I was like a bad person for getting Bogey from a breeder. And I like literally was speechless. Like it was just one of those things where I did not know how to react or respond. So I just think I just like literally like laughed and ignored it. But I just want to say, like, people get dogs for all sorts of reasons. And, like, sure, like, it's a great thing to adopt a dog from a shelter. You're saving a dog's life. You're giving it love and food and a home and all these things. And like, my family's adopted 3 cats. Like, we adopt animals, too. But sometimes, like, you just want a dog to raise it from, like, the second it's a puppy and born. And he's literally my son. But sometimes you just want a certain breed, or you need a dog for a certain reason. Like, people might get a dog from a breeder to use as like a service dog, to train it to have a specific skill. Whereas like coming from a shelter, like, you can still do that, but like it might just be like a different situation. And I'm just rambling now, but I just don't think you should shame people for getting dogs from breeders. Also, people, what I compare it to is like there's lots of kids in orphanages all over the world, which is super sad. And like we all could be out here adopting kids instead of making our own, but like we're all still out here making our own kids, and no one's like, I'm pregnant, and then someone's like, you could have adopted a kid from an orphanage. Like, of course you could have. But like you want your own baby. Like, I want to raise my own dog. So thank you. That's my hot take or controversial take.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that isn't that controversial, but it probably is because of how did someone have the boldness to just come up and say that in a work? That's crazy to me. But
and I'll say, like, we actually did try. We literally tried to adopt 2 dogs the year before, and they all fell through with the adoption agencies. So we tried to adopt a dog, but it just didn't work out. Things happen for a reason, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just goes without saying. Hopefully that is self-explanatory, but you shouldn't be penalized. Like, again, do your research. The breeder, make sure the breeder's good. But that's absolutely the case. It's like, I wanted like a dog to raise like from the second it was born, essentially, and whenever you can get them. But there's nothing. It's great to adopt too, but like a lot of times too, like adoption dogs like have issues or like have other things, and you can't exactly pick what you want. But again, that's great. But like we just found Bogey, and we shouldn't be. You shouldn't get off your high horse. Like, you're not better than me because you adopted a dog and we got one from a breeder. I have a hot take. It's crazy that this is a hot take. It's absolutely bananas. And I honestly was testing a theory when I made this video on TikTok for my 30 Takes to September series. I was testing a theory because I was like, so let's fast forward, like flash backwards like 5 years. I would have thought that there was no one out there that didn't think tipping was necessary. I would have thought that everyone was like, oh yeah, absolutely. Like, of course. Like, and I'm not talking at Starbucks. Like, I'm not going to tip you $5 for pouring drinks in a cup. Like, I'm talking service. So, like, you're at a sit-down restaurant. You're getting your car washed. Like, stuff like that. Like, things where people are actually performing a service to you or for you or, like, giving you food. It's wild to me the amount of people I've seen on social media that don't think tipping is necessary. They're like, well, they have to earn my tip. If it's not good service, if it's not exceptional, I'm not tipping. Just say you're poor. If I will say this quite frankly, if you can't afford to tip, you can't afford to go out. I'm gonna say it like I don't understand how that's controversial, but it is. And when I made this video, the comments were flooded with people being like, I don't have to tip. I'm not tipping unless I'm like, I'm just dumbfounded. I don't understand. I can't think of something that makes you more of just an asshole. Like, that's crazy. And a lot of people say, and I'll let you get to what you were going to say in a second. A lot of people say, I got this comment a lot too. It's like, the system is flawed. Like, we shouldn't have to pay. You're right. The system is flawed. But you being like, I'm not going to tip. I'm not going to tip. I'm better than that. I'm not going to. Like, they think they have some, again, like high horse, like superiority complex. You not tipping is not going to do shit to change the system. Like, yes, in other countries, like, you don't have to tip because they get paid fair wages. But, like, you not tipping, they're just going to not make money now. Like, you're just harming them. And again, it shouldn't, like, I'll give you an example for me. I think everyone, no matter what, no questions asked, should be tipping at least 15%. And preferably closer to 20 or above. I'll tell you, for me, I tip 20% or higher every single time. And 3 times in my life, I've tipped 15%. And it's been the worst dog shit service I've ever had in my life. And I still tipped 15%. And it's just bananas to me. I'm obviously very passionate about this. You're just a dog shit person if you don't tip. Like, I don't know how else to say it. I don't know why it's a controversial take. I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, because I know you were like, just say you're poor. But we've seen, like, it's not, and I know that's not what you literally meant, but, like, it doesn't even come down to that. Like, what
I meant is you're either poor financially or you're poor psychologically, mentally.
That's what I like. Yeah, because, like, I've seen people in my, like, that I've seen or heard of stories of that are like, I know that they're, like, well off, or they, like, have a job where, like, they could tip and, like, they just don't. So it's like, it doesn't even have to do with how much money you brought in, because, like, when we were in high school and we both worked at McDonald's part-time, like, we'd go to Chili's and we'd still leave a 20% tip. So it definitely doesn't have anything to do with what class you're in, but it's like, you should tip. Like, that's just nice. So yeah. Sorry, a little bogey, little intermission.
No, yeah, it's not only nice, it's a complete necessity. Like, bus boys are making like $4 an hour. Like, you can't just you're not going to change the system by not tipping. I just can't think of an opinion where I respect you less than if you, like, don't tip. Like, that's just such a dog shit thing to do. I don't know. I mean, and again, I can't believe that that's controversial. I cannot believe for the life of me that that's controversial, but it is. So, yeah, if that's controversial, literally anything ever could be controversial. How do we go after that? Did I have anything else on my list here? We had. Oh, yeah. So I was just going to talk about, like, so thank you guys for listening. That is the segment presented by Taco Bell. Live Mas. Yeah, that was a segment of the week. Why do you keep looking at me like that? You're acting like I'm going to get, like, a cease and desist letter for the fucking Connor PILS show. If I do, it's just a good PR story. Big giant company comes after a little podcast. I'm going to sue their ass. They could sue me too. But, you guys know what the vibes are. Anyway, the future of this podcast, I alluded to a little bit. I know I've stopped this a lot. If you guys have been here since the beginning, I appreciate you. I apologize for not being continuous, another word for that. I like to add extra syllables to things. What's the word I made up earlier? Unsurety. Unsurely is a word. Unsurety is not a word, but I made it up and you knew what I meant. Kind of like, yeah, but the future of this podcast is going to be every other week. I think weekly is too much for me at this current time. I just can't commit to that, unfortunately. I would love to, but I work a full-time job. I have a dog. I go to the gym. I do all this other stuff. But I think I can commit to bi-weekly. I think I can do a podcast every other week. And yeah, like I've been doing, I'll keep posting them on YouTube as videos for people that like to listen or watch on YouTube. And I'll keep putting them on audio. So I appreciate you guys. I think I'm about to get my podcaster Spotify Wrapped for the year, which is always exciting because it's just cool to see, like, oh, people are actually, like, listening and, like, engaging, which is cool. But I appreciate you guys. We have an Instagram if you want to check that out. I'll be posting clips there. Follow me on all my other stuff. Follow Maddie. And yeah, I just appreciate you guys. We're going to get this back rolling. It's the first episode in like 200, 300 something days. I'm excited to be back on the Connor PILS show. Maddie, any last words?
No, not really.
Bogey, any last words? Connor, any last words? Mite Semper, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Peace.